All right. All right. So first and foremost, I realized there was a bucket in the shot. Not a lot I can do about it because my air conditioner is leaking. So I have to have the bucket in the shot. I try to be a little more professional in these videos, but there you have it. What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode. Got to do it of all the days to do the masculine SE punch. Got to do it. Welcome to another episode of Full Blast. I am your host, Raja Burrows. And we're continuing the series. You guys seem to really like this series. I really like making it. The vibes are just really good today, man. We're solidly in Scorpio season. We're getting into that spoopy place. I'm just vibing it. I'm just vibing it all. All right, so here's the thing. So if you notice in the thumbnail, I was doing my like jumping over the fence. That was me, trying to bridge the gap between SI and SE. That's generally speaking not what SI is doing. SI is, again, to put it very, very crudely, bluntly, broadly, SE wants to jump over the fence, and SI wants to like grab and wrestle and pin down. Again, these are slightly more of the masculine expressions of it, but again, the same general premise applies. It also, just to be perfectly honest, it just felt like a fun, interesting, dynamic looking thumbnail. So let's get into this. So SI for SE users, wowsy trousy. This is one that I struggle with this one more than I think that I do. Because there are lots of times where I will think that I'm doing SI, but I'm actually doing NI. And so I wanted to take this opportunity to try my best to articulate for all of my fellow SE users out there what the hell SI is doing, what it's trying to do, and how we can benefit from doing a little bit more SI, because SI is just an unbelievably useful function. It's unbelievably useful. Again, I refer to our resident expert, Clara, because again, every time I think of SI and I'm like, I'm not really sure what that's doing, I just go to one of her videos, and I'm like, oh right, yeah. I am totally blanking because this is a live video. I can't splice in her YouTube channel. Maybe I can find it real quick. SI. Right. Nope, it's not that one. It's not that one. It's not that one. It's not that one. Well, okay. Really probably should have figured this out beforehand and not tried to gather it on the fly. See, this is what SE is doing. You know what? Fuck it. This is a fantastic real-time demonstration of what SI is not doing. See, so what SE will do is it will just try to find, it will gather on the fly. It is very much the gather on the fly function. It is not like, so even let's just zoom out and just look at what I did instinctively right there. I was like, oh, here is this sensory thing, the name of this YouTube channel, that I do not have in front of me. I didn't log it away in my NI brain. I certainly, when I was doing this video, I certainly didn't think to plan to be like, hey, I'm about to name drop a YouTube channel I really like. Maybe I should think about what the name of the fucking YouTube channel is. No. It was, ooh, I thought of a thing that I want. Let me, in the moment, on the fly, open up a new tab in my Chrome browser and search Objective Personality SI and see if it magically pops up. That was my process. That was legit my thought process. Is I was like, well, you know what? I do this often enough. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Okay, here it is. Okay. It's called A Large Aviary is the name of Clara's channel. Literally the first video. I don't know why I didn't just immediately click on it. A Large Aviary is the name of Clara's channel. It's terrific. So, but think, okay, let's break down what I just did. In the moment, I was like, oh fuck, I don't have this thing, piece of information, toy, whatever, immediately in front of me. That's okay. I'll just go gather it right now. SE is a really incredible function when it comes to dealing with the unexpected in the here and now. And it's weird because SE, I think, tends to get a little bit of a bad rap. A little bit. It's gotten better, but it definitely there's just a lot of negative cultural associations, I think, with SE in the academic, headier, whatever you want to call it, spaces, right? Those are spaces that are much more NE, NI, and SI driven. And SE is sort of seen as like, oh, well, you're the hot cheerleader. You're the jock. If you do the SE thing, then you're dumb. And there's like this weird value. It's very, very strange. But I get it. I get it. I get where it could be coming from sociologically, right? So I bring that up because it has nothing to do with intelligence. Obviously, there are plenty of very, very smart people with SE, but SE is incredibly, deeply, deeply in the moment. It is aggressively in the here and now in a way that kind of not a lot of the other functions are. Or at least it tends to not manifest that way. When I'm thinking of someone like Phil DeFranco, right? So he's NETE, and yes, he's talking to you, and yes, you're like, okay, well, he's certainly present, and he communicating to the people in front of him, but there's a little bit of a detachment. It's like, are you like, you can see his wheels turning, and he's just a little bit always off in la la land, because that's where his NE gather is trying to go, right? But SE gather, it's still got that scattershotness, but it's looking at things. I feel the way that I can describe it is it's not looking up here. It's not gathering up here like NE is. It's gathering much more right in front of you. And it's doing it right now. And Joe Rogan is weird, a really good example of this. He'll be interviewing somebody and he'll be like, hey, can you look up that thing? He'll talk to his assistant or the whatever. Hey, can you look up who won that fight? Look up who won that fight. Because for SE, if there is missing information that can be gathered in the moment, we're like, oh yeah, well, obviously, like, hang on, let me just gather this piece of information that I need, and then we can move forward, right? And it's weird. It's chaotic in the sense of it's all over the place. But it's not particularly chaotic in the sense of being hard to follow. So I realize we're talking more about NE than SI, but we'll get there. Don't worry. So if you watch the Robert Downey Jr. video, or any of the videos where he's talking about, where Shave is talking about NE, Bob Downey is jumping from like analogy to analogy to analogy to analogy. This one didn't land. Let me go to this one. Oh, that one did land. Whatever. Here's a new and better analogy. Here's another analogy. Here's another analogy. And it's all about new, but it's just like a little bit above the surface. It's not anchored to anything, which makes it hard to follow. And it's hard to follow in the sense that, like, you have to already be on board with the idea that he's talking about. So, like, I watched that video 2 or 3 times, and the first time I watched it, I was like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? I don't understand it at all. And then I revisited it, a couple of weeks later, a couple of months later, just being like, oh, it popped up on my YouTube. Let me check this guy out again. And I'm like, oh, I totally get it. And it was that I was trying to corral all of his ideas. And I was like, oh, okay, great. I get it, but I couldn't do that on the fly. I had to be like, hang on a second. Here's my box of known information, the ideas that I already know. I got to work on my own NF shit. And then once I had my own NF frame of reference, he can throw his crazy at me all day, but I'm not going to be able to gather it with him in the moment, right? SE versus SI is doing that same thing, except with actual physical, tangible things and actual physical, tangible data. And, we're not talking about abstractions here. We're talking about what is the fact of who won that fight, right? Okay, in the case of the Joe Rogan thing, or like, what is the name of that YouTube channel I like so much, right? That's not a concept. I mean, it's a concept in the sense that nothing is real, but like, that is a findable, searchable thing that isn't about, I'm not thinking about, ooh, what could the channel be called? Well, let me think about what I know and let me make some guesses and try some guesses. And no. It's like, let me just go fucking find it. Like, let me go and gather the thing in the moment, and then I can move on, right? And it's weird. If any of you out there have ever watched me go shopping, it is a bizarre experience. And it is fully in, like, if you've ever watched me go shopping, either for clothes or for groceries, it is a front row seat to my brand of crazy. Because what will happen is, so like, I'm just going to use grocery shopping, for instance, right? I will go into the grocery store and, like, I'll have a list, but I'm not very systematic about my sensory. It's like, yeah, I know that there's some stuff on the edges that I want, and like, that's where the cold stuff is, and the processed stuff is in the middle. And that's where I can get like my pasta and my whatever. But like, I'm not like itemizing the list, and I'm like, okay, I need this, and then this, and then this, and then this. And again, that's not to say that SE, that's not like a function specific thing at all. Obviously, anybody can make lists. Obviously, anybody can organize anything. That's not the point. But the point is that SE in its purest form, again, and it's weird. It's not a totally pure form because it's, my last function, but it is double activated. And the task at hand, I'm literally gathering new shit. So you're going to see it on display, right? And it's not like going shopping, like for clothes, where I'm like, ugh, I don't fucking want any new clothes, but I need to get new clothes because I'm out of IJ black shirts, and like, I should probably get like a green in there or like a dark blue, right? And then I'm real pouty and shit about it. But I was like, no, this is food. I like food. I need food to survive. Great, fun. And if you watch me go into the grocery store, I'm not crossing things off of lists. Like, again, I have a loose idea of what I want, but I'm really just like, oh, right. Yep. That's the other, right. I need the the vegetables for the stir fry. Oh yeah, so let me get the vegetables and then let me go over here to the meat because I'm thinking about the vegetables because the way that I do the stir fry, right? I chop up the beef and then I fry the beef in the wok and then I put the stir fry in and then the salt and the mwah. It's very, very good. Feeds me for like 3 or 4 days. It's great. But what I'll do, maybe that's it, right? So it's that I knew that I needed beef and I knew that I needed the stir fry vegetables. But those two things are not near each other physically. But I just like leapt over all of the sensory things and I was like, "Ooh, I'm thinking about beef right now because that connects in my NI brain, it connects subjectively to me where I'm like, "Oh right. Okay, great. Yes, stir fry vegetables makes me think of meat. Let me go leap over all of the shit and go to the meat." And then I'll get the meat. And then anybody who has the fortune or misfortune of going shopping with me is going to be like, "Hey, so didn't you want to get chocolate too?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, chocolate. Great." And then I'll be like, "Where's the chocolate?" Person with me. Yeah, it's like 4 aisles that way. We actually could have gotten chocolate on the way to the meat, but you just leapt over the sensory and just didn't give a shit. And I'm like, "That's okay. We can go back 3 rows and get the chocolate and then go forward 7 rows to get the pasta. And then, oh, wait, hang on. I forgot I need some spices. So let me go back to the beginning." And I am perfectly happy doing this. Like when my SE is really going, when I'm being in the moment, I'm not planning out my fucking grocery shopping route. What are you, nuts? That's bananas. That's crazy. Why would I do this? Right? Yes, Jessica, it is energy inefficient, but my SE doesn't give a fuck. Does not give a fuck. It just doesn't, right? My NI gets a little pissed off. And it's like, you realize that there are categories of things in the grocery store. Like the grocery store is organized by category. We like organizing things by category. Maybe we can just move from category to category. Maybe don't make the leap of like, I don't know, vegetables and meat and chocolate and pasta and eggs and butter and this and that. And oh, wait, I forgot chips. And then I'm going to go away and get something else and be like, "Oh, wait, hang on a second. I also need salsa." And my NI is like, "We could have gotten that. It is in the Latin American food section, sir. It is right next to the chips." And I'm like, "Well, I didn't think of it that, at the time. Whatever. Let me go all the way back." And God forbid you take a look inside my cart. It is just a chaotic shit mess. It's just, I mean, I will do a little bit of proper stacking just so that I don't break shit. But beyond that, like, there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just like, oh yeah, I need this, and then I need that, and then I need that, and it's just plop it in there. And then when I put it on the conveyor belt, it's just plop it on the conveyor belt, whatever. I'm not gonna organize this sensory. Just fucking plop it on there. It'll all get taken care of. Like at some point, it'll all get put into some bags. And then when I take it home, and then, I'll put it in my refrigerator. Whatever, it's fine. We're good. Right? Now, I'm not saying that a lead SI user can't do that, won't do that, wouldn't do that. Because again, now we're talking about behaviors, but in terms of the process, SI is looking at what I just did and is just fucking horrified because the SI it's so step by step by step by step by step. It's not leaping over step. So there are not a lot of occasions where I go upstairs here in LA, but when I'm at home, Um, you know, there are stairs that go up to my childhood bedroom, right? And partially, so there's two reasons for this. One, I have long legs. I have a 34-inch inseam, which for someone of my height is very, very long. I have big, long monkey limbs. So that is part of it. But whenever I go upstairs, I always take stairs two at a time. I'm not going step by step. My obligation, responsibility, psychological underpinning, whatever the fuck you want to call it, is like, no, 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 no. Let me just like jump over the fence, right? I'm not going to gently like climb over it and then swing one leg over and then one leg over and then down and then across, right? No, my SE is just like, wee, leap over the fence, right? Whereas SI is going to feel responsible for subjectively organizing all of the sensory details and really chaining together thing after thing after thing after thing after thing. Okay. So here is anecdotally how an SI user might, in a savior state, go grocery shopping. They'll put together their list and then they will plan out, okay, I know that I need to get uh, cherries and I need to get stir fry and I need to get meat and I need to get eggs and I need to get this. So if they're doing their SI planning, which, how about this? First and foremost, SI gives a fuck about planning the sensory. It actually gives a shit about that. And so it will chain together, right? And they're going to be looking. And here's where I think that a lot of people get SI wrong. SI is absolutely looking for efficiency. Like, I know that we sort of have this archetype of like the ISFJ librarian and the ISTJ accountant, but like that shit is real complicated. And the people who are like wizard accountants, it's because like they're good at it and they can go through 17 steps really, 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 right? Because they have subjectively optimized all of the sensory. Yeah, efficiently definitely plays into SI. I think about one of my former coworkers who I adore, and one of the reasons that we got along so ridiculously well is she had lead SI. Thinking outside the box was not her strong point, especially not in a company full of any chaos monkeys. Like her niche, her comforts, her whatever was very much in the like, okay, this is the work you need me to do. I'm going to show up and just boom, 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 boom. She came to us as a temp. She came to us as like a receptionist temp. And, you know, we had, because our former receptionist was on maternity leave. And so we had, you know, we went through a sourcing company, recruiting company, whatever, placement company. That's what I'm looking for. Brought her in and she started doing the thing and it was great. And there was just like, again, when she came in, it was a chaotic shit mess in very badly organized and terrible, whatever. So she comes in, it's on the first day, and I'm in my new sales position and like trying to revamp the sales and do the thing. It was a chaotic shit mess. It was terrible. And then the workday started at 9:30. At about 10:10, this was 40 minutes into the day, she comes over and she's like, hey, sorry to interrupt. So I finished what you asked me to do. And then me and my boss, we looked around and we're like, right, yeah. So just go on to the next thing, right? You know, I know you took care of that. Now go on to the next thing. And she's like, Sorry, I misspoke. I did all 6 things on the list. We're like, I'm sorry, what? She's like, yeah, it wasn't that hard. You just had to do the things and it got done and it gets done in like 40 minutes. And we're like, great. Can you just excuse us 1 second? Confer. And we're like, okay. For now, go back to the front desk. Answer phones if you need to. Here's one other thing that we're going to need you to do. And yeah, that, when you're done with that, let us know and we'll have conferred by then. And we conferred. And then we got distracted with other shit. 4 minutes later, she comes back and she's like, great, so I did it. And we're like, oh my God. And she was like, listen, here's what I will say. I'm happy to do whatever. I'll do anything you want. I'm just gonna, if there's nothing you need from me, I'm just gonna be sitting at the front desk on the computer or reading a book. Now I know that's not what you want, but I also don't want to interrupt whatever flow, like whatever you're working on. I just want you to know that I am here and I'm available to you. And she went back up, and like an hour later, we're like, hey, so do you want a new job? And we like put her on the sales team. Other anecdote about my SI former coworker, just because I love her this much, and it's like I learned a lot about SI truly from her. So we had this old office space, and we had to junk a bunch of things. Like we had a bunch of furniture. We were trying to sublet it and then get out of our it was a whole fucking shit mess. Again, this company was a lot of chaotic shit mess. And we had been asking the office manager at the time, who I think she was like an FENE type. So like she had SI, but it was Demon SI, and she had TI at the bottom. We've been asking our office manager to do this for like a week. And there was just a bunch of stuff going on. And we thought like, oh, she couldn't find it, or she couldn't find a good rate. And which is honestly in New York City is reasonable. If you're like, hey, this is a new thing I'm trying to look for. This seems really high, but also it's New York. So I need to, do comparisons. And then at one point, we're like, okay, this shit just has to get done. Like, we just need this stuff physically out of here. That's just a thing that needs to happen. And so we're like, hey, Laura, I know you're a little busy. Can you find us a junk place and just get some quotes and whatever? I'm talking about 4.5 minutes later, she comes into our office and is like where we were working and doing cleaning. And she was like, great. So I found a place and they can come this afternoon if you're ready to give them your credit card. I'm like, are you fucking, what is happening? What is happening? Y'all, SI is happening. Because here's what made her so goddamn efficient, or one of the many things that made her so goddamn efficient. She wasn't thinking abstractly about anything that she was doing. There was no, could this be done better? That was something that she did on the back end. That was what with her NE, after doing it 4 or 5 times, she would be like, got it. I think if I move this piece to here and this piece to here, that'll tighten up the air there. And then this whole thing down here can go away. And then this one little dangly piece, I guess I can put that, I don't know, fuck it, somewhere. That'll just, I'll put it at the end. We'll find a place for it that's better, right? And I sort of think of SI as being again, I don't even know if this is, still a thing. It's been a while since I have used a PC for anything more than like a video game machine. But I remember back when I was using PCs exclusively, and certainly in the early 2000s, one of the big things that you had to do was you had to defragment your hard drive. It was a big thing. You run the disk defragmenter. When you open it up, it's like, here is all of this sensory that's poorly organized, that's just a chaotic shit mess. And then when you run defrag hard drive, it would like line up all of the sensory in a way that made it easier to find. And you're like, and then the computer ran faster because it wasn't trying to SE fucking go around and find shit everywhere. It was like, well, I'm going to go from this folder to this folder and this folder to this folder and this folder to this folder and this folder to this folder, right? It's not jumping, over steps. And that is something that we SE folks, whether we have it as a savior or if we have it double activated, or honestly, even if we have it as if we have it as a demon, God fucking help you, because then you're going to leap over steps that you don't even know exist. When SE is in a savior state, we will be leaping over sensory, but we're doing it in a very conscious way. We're not haphazardly jumping over the sensory. We're like, okay, it's not that I don't see if I'm, walking upstairs, right? It's not that I don't see this step here. It's that I don't care. It's that I have determined that I can just go from here to here. My SE can just leapfrog and gather in the sensory and bounce around. Like, it's very, very conscious of what it's leaping over, right? But SI is like, why would you skip a step? Why would you skip a step? The step is right there. You're making your life harder, Raja, when you go from the stir fry to the meat, then back to the pasta, and then to the salmon, and then the person with you is like, hey, remember that time you very explicitly wanted to get chocolate? And I was like, oh yeah, chocolate. Wait, but hang on. First, let me get eggs. Then I go to the eggs, and then I move past the eggs, and then they're like, hi, yes, hello, chocolate. I'm like, oh yeah, where's the chocolate again? It's 3 fucking rows back that way. Oh my God, right? So then we go back and get this right. SI is just not, that's not going to feel good to SI. To SE, oh, we're in the, whatever, man. We're in the moment. We're gathering. We're doing the thing. We're just, I'm here, and then I'm there, and then I'm over there, and I'm just gathering, man. We're just gathering. We're just doing the gather game. It's all good. And then meanwhile, SI is like in the corner fucking, why? Who is this fun for? Who likes this? Oh, boy. But SI is going to be much more interested in going, look, if there are 7 steps, whoever organized this probably did that for a reason. Whoever wrote 7 steps out to make this, pasta dish or grocery or whatever, whoever organized this store probably did it deliberately, right? They're respecting the organization of the sensory, and they're like, I'm going to follow every single step. I'm just going to follow the steps. I'm not, and they're going to feel good about it. And that's really, we're at, like, it's not that SE can't follow steps, but boy, we don't like it because we'll do it, whatever. But if we can leapfrog steps, like, we'll want to try shit out in the moment, right? We want to do the gather free wheelie thing in the moment, not abstractly on the back end. We just want to try shit out, right? Like, we'll see a step and we'll be like, I could take that step, or I could take this other step. Yeah, but the instructions say that step. I know the instructions say that step, but like, I'm going to take this step. And then we're just going to fucking see what happens. Right? And to my SE, that is very exciting. Very, very exciting. Right? And then when you fuck things up because you didn't follow the steps that were given to you, don't come crying to SI. That's real. That's real. And here's the thing, and that's how we should tie this up. Here's how SE gets fucked up is thinking that sensory organization was slopped together because that's how we, the SE user, sees the sensory. When I look at a manual, again, going back to my former coworker, I figured out very quickly how to speak her language and to like get her to do anything with extraordinary efficiency, right? She was like, hey, how do you do this? And I would try to talk her through it. And she's like, I tell you what, if you can just write this down, if you can give me all of the steps in order as best as you know them, I'll be good. And I was like, wait, what do you, and again, in my mind, I'm like, steps? What do you mean steps? You just do the thing. And then I had to stop and realize, oh, right, there are steps. And how about this? How's this for like total chagrin? As I was writing out the steps and being forced to do the SI, I was like, this is wildly inefficient. Why the fuck have we been doing it this way? And I'm like, and I would write out like 9 steps for her, and I'm like, okay, these are the current steps. This is not particularly efficient. I realize that now. I will let you know when I have a better version of those steps. And then I would send an email to my other coworker and being like, hey, so this process is stupidly inefficient. Why is this 9 steps? I feel like it could be 4. Are you free this afternoon to jump on a call? That's how, right? And that's the thing. We SE users often erroneously assume that all sensory is just sort of slopped out there, and that it may be organized conceptually. So like my mother, God bless her. My mother loves Christmas. My mother loves Christmas maybe more than any other real life non-fictional human on the planet does besides Santa Claus himself. Like, she might like Christmas more than Mrs. Claus. It is possible. And mama can gather. Mama can gather. And she loves it. And what I'm now realizing, like for years, I thought she was just feminine SI, and her SI was just so feminine that it seemed really sloppy. But the more that I started to understand OP and then actually got to know my mother as like an adult human, I was like, holy shit. No, you're organizing by concept. It's, here are all of the snow globes that I own. And she has like 40 of them. Here's the 40 snow globes. And then here's all of the this, and here's all of the that, and here's, right, like, and when she does do the SI organizing, like, she's got to work at it. Like, she's very much about the country clutter / organized mess / the sensory is kind of fluid. It's just got to feel right and have the right energy and vibe and whatever. But it's not, and again, she can get a little fussy sometimes, but generally speaking, she likes it when stuff is she loves it when stuff's just like a little messy. Very clean. It has to be for sure clean, but the organization, like, let's keep it a little messy, right? Or not the organization, but like the sensory stuff. She likes a little sensory mess. It makes it feel lived in and not so sterile. And it's very nice. It's a very, very nice, warm and welcoming environment. But the way that she organizes it is very conceptual, and she's had to train herself over the last 64 years of her life to actually be really methodical because it isn't something that comes superly natural to her, right? She's like, fuck, I have to, if I'm going to get anything done, I'm going to have to do some kind of organizing in the sense where I need some sort of system and some sort of plan. And, you know, even then, it's still not quite what I would call SI, like, at least not in its purest form, right? She's like, all right, well, these decorations go in here and they came out of this box. So they're going to go back into that box. And I'm going to trust that that's enough. But it's not going to be like super, super precise about like, this goes here and this block goes here and this block goes here and this block goes there. Like, she's not going to get that SI about it. But I'm seeing now, like, certainly in my own life, as somebody with demon sensory, period, you know, looking at what the SI users are really doing and actually going step by step and respecting all of the steps, the results speak for themselves. And here's what really I'm really starting to process and to be like, oh, right, I just need to like update my NI definitions about this thing. We have this weird cultural narrative that SI is inefficient and that it's too many steps. And, you know, they do all of the things, you know, in a very, you know, fastidious kind of way. Which to us, the SE users, yeah, it is going to be really inefficient because we're on to the next thing. We're doing new shit. We're leaping over steps. We just want to get the thing done so we can go gather some more sensory shit, right? But the SI users who like really, really hone that skill, they're faster than the SE users who are slopping around, and they're doing it better, right? Their result is better and faster. Again, I remember this. I'll never forget when this woman walked into our, you know, when we were this other office we were working, and it solved a problem in 4.5 minutes that took the previous, you know, responsibility person 2 weeks to not complete. That's what was fucking wild to me, is that it wasn't just better, it just got done. And I was like, oh, fuck. And when we sort of probed, like, okay, hang on a second. Clearly you're a wizard. Clearly we have hired a wizard. Good on us. How did you do this thing that seemingly nobody else in the company was able to do? Because nobody else in the company had Savior SI. And she didn't understand the question. She was like, what do you mean? What did I do? We're like, no, but like, how did like start to finish? Like, what were your steps? And she's like, well, I Googled New York junk removal and then a link popped up. So I clicked on the link and then it said contact. And so I clicked contact. And then there was a phone number. So I called the phone. We're like, okay, fine. We get the point. But like, that's how she did it really quickly and correctly. She was just like, well, I'm not going to worry about all of the different ways that it could go, right? She's not thinking in the moment, let me Google New York junk. Oh, fuck, there are 17 options to pick. Which one is the best one? Well, it could be this one. Let me think about this one. Let me think. No. It's like, well, here's this one. This seems fine. Next. This seems like a reasonable button to push. Next. And she trusted the process that if she clicks enough buttons in the right order, in an order that isn't completely stupid, she'll get to where she needs to go. And that's what us SC users could definitely stand to do a lot more of. We just could. We are very quick to leap over the sensory to, you know, our master plan, and we want to get to the end goal. But like, The process is pretty great, guys. And in doing it, and again, and here's maybe why we don't do it, is because I think we know that our process is inefficient. I think we know that. I think that there's a part of us that doesn't want to be called out on our process's inefficiency. That was certainly the case for me. Maybe that is not the case for you, but I think that when an SI user, or sorry, when an SE user is reluctant to SI, the odds of that being the cause of it are pretty good. So I say to all of you SE folks out there, it's gonna be clunky when you first do it, but it will not be clunky forever. You will get efficient at doing the sensory organizing. Like, you'll just get faster at it, and it will make your gathering better because you're going to know, like, you're going to have some sort of frame of reference for sensory organizing and for SI. And so you'll be able to gather in a way that isn't draining you and isn't like fucking all over the place. And you're like, okay, I'm still going to do the gather thing, but I'm not going to be like, all right, I gathered this thing. Let me scan the entirety of the horizon for the next thing to gather. You can just go, let me gather this thing. I bet the next thing I'm going to want is going to be around here. So let me start over here. Oh, look, the thing I want is over here, right? And it narrows your focus because you have an understanding of how SI is organized by somebody, whether you're good at it or bad at it, like just the process of doing it is going to hone your skills, and it's going to make your NI better, and it really is going to make your SE a whole lot better. All right. I guess I should leave with like an actual explicit how-to. The simplest one I can think of is write down 3 things the night before you go to bed, 3 things you're going to do the next day, and just do that for 2 weeks and watch your life change. Because you're not thinking about all the future things. I just have to do these 3 things on any given day. That's it. And then you do the things, and then the shit gets done. It's just 4 wheelbarrows a day. That shit's super real, man. Like I've fallen off the wagon a little bit. October was a weird month for me, for a number of reasons. But that is one thing that I could definitely be better about, is getting back on the train of like writing down the 3 things a day, because shit just got done. Shit just got done. And it didn't feel stressful. It didn't feel like a chaotic shit mess. I just had to do the things. All right, that's all I got for today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.